The Hall of Stars was packed with warriors, nobles, and thousands of curious eyes. Alien flags waved from every side. Strange scents filled the air, and the floor shimmered like silver glass. In the center stood a tall throne made of crystal, and on it sat the Aurelian Queen, proud and cold. She wore armor of gold, and her silver hair floated like mist. She was feared across galaxies, not just for her beauty, but for her brutal mind. The tournament had ended. Dozens of warriors had fought. Some lost honorably. Some lost their lives. Now came the final moment. The Queen stood, her voice echoing like thunder. As promised, she said, "I offer one prize to the one who saved me." Everyone turned, expecting a grand warrior to step forward. But instead, from the back, walked a man in plain gray clothes, a human. His name was Jace. An engineer from Earth. He wasn't a soldier, not a prince, just a quiet man who had repaired systems, cleaned engines, and minded his business. But during the match, when a rogue beast broke free and charged at the Queen, it wasn't a soldier who acted. It was Jace who jumped from the stands and stabbed the beast with a metal pole. He saved her life, and the moment was captured across every screen in the galaxy. The Queen narrowed her eyes as he stood before her. "You are human," she said, her tone unreadable. "I expected a warrior." Jace gave a small nod. "I'm not one, Your Majesty." Laughter echoed in the hall. Aliens of every kind whispered and snickered. "A human dares approach the throne," one hissed. "He must ask for a ship, or money, or his freedom." Another laughed, but the Queen raised her hand, silencing them all. "You saved my life," she said. "I give you one gift, human." She gestured to her side, where dozens of powerful alien women stood, each more beautiful and skilled than the last. "You may choose any woman you desire," she said. "Anyone but me," she added with a sharp smirk. The crowd waited, expecting Jace to blush or beg, but he didn't. He simply looked at the Queen, then took a breath. "I want you," he said calmly. The hall froze. Every laugh died. Every whisper vanished. Guards shifted nervously, ready to drag him away. Even the Queen blinked, stunned. "You." "What did you say?" she asked, her voice quiet now. Jace didn't look away. "You asked me to choose," he said. "I choose you." Gasps echoed like thunder. Some warriors stepped forward in rage. "He insults the crown." One shouted, "This is madness." Another said, "The Queen lifted one finger." And everyone went silent. She stood slowly, walking down the steps toward him, her boots clicking on the cold crystal. Face to face with the human, she stared into his eyes. "Why me?" she asked, her voice softer now. "I am not kind. I am not gentle. I am a weapon." Jace's answer was quiet. "I saw it in your eyes," he said. "You sit on a throne, but you look like you carry a mountain." Something flickered in her face. Maybe, or something deeper. She turned her back and said loudly, "Follow me." Without another word, she walked down a side corridor. Jace followed her into shadows where no human had ever stepped. Behind them, the hall burst into chaos. But Jace didn't turn around. He didn't know where she was taking him. He didn't know what she would do. But in her eyes, he'd seen something no one else dared to look for. Loneliness, and maybe, just maybe, that was the real prize no one had ever tried to claim. Jace walked behind the Queen through a narrow corridor made of glowing blue stone. Each step echoed in the silence. The hall grew darker, colder, and deeper underground. Guards saluted and quickly looked away, confused and nervous. No human had ever walked this path. This hallway was for royal blood only. Some said it led to the Queen's secrets, others said no one who entered ever returned. But Jace kept walking. He wasn't scared, just curious. The Queen didn't speak for a long time. Her back was straight, her movements sharp. But something in her steps felt slow, thoughtful. They reached a heavy silver door, guarded by two tall creatures with glowing red eyes. The guards moved aside without a word. The Queen placed her palm on the door, and it slid open silently. Inside was a large room, quiet, still, and full of strange light. The floor was made of black glass. The walls were smooth stone, covered in ancient writing. In the center was a table with 2 chairs. The queen sat, motioned for Jace to do the same. "Do you know where you are?" she asked at last. Jace shook his head. She looked at him, studying his face like a puzzle. "This is the Chamber of Judgment," she said. "Normally, enemies of the throne sit here, not guests." Jace stayed silent. The queen leaned forward, her voice calm but sharp. "Why did you say you wanted me?" she asked again. "You had the chance to walk away with gold, ships, even a noble title. But instead, you put my name in your mouth." Jace didn't flinch. "I didn't plan it," he said. "I saw everyone offering fake smiles, fake power. And then I looked at you. You looked tired, like someone pretending to be strong for too long." The queen narrowed her eyes. "No one talks to me like that," she said. "Most fear me, some love me, all of them lie." Jace nodded. "I don't lie," he said. "You didn't offer a woman," he added. "You offered a choice, and I chose you." The queen stood and walked to the wall, placing her hand gently on the carvings. "This room belonged to my mother," she said quietly. "She ruled before me, stronger than anyone, but she never smiled." Jace didn't speak. He let her continue. "I became queen by force, not by will," she said. "They told me to become iron. So I did. But sometimes," she paused, "I dream of being something else." Silence filled the chamber. Then came a sound, soft, at first a chime. The queen turned quickly, alarm in her eyes. A red light appeared on the wall, blinking fast. "The palace alarm," she whispered. Suddenly, her legs shook. She fell to one knee, gripping the table. Jace jumped to her side, catching her before she collapsed fully. "What's happening?" he asked. Her breath was shaky. "My wine," she said. "It was poisoned." Jace helped her lie back gently, his heart racing. He looked at her face, pale now, eyes fluttering. "Help!" he called to the guards. But the chamber was sealed. No one came, no one answered. It was just him and the queen. He grabbed a small device from his belt, a scanner for systems. He quickly scanned her blood. The screen blinked, showing a compound he didn't recognize, but it wasn't alien. It was human-made. His stomach turned. Was someone trying to blame him? Was this a setup? The queen reached up weakly, grabbing his wrist. "Don't leave me," she whispered. "I won't," he promised, holding her tighter. "Not now, not ever." Outside, chaos grew louder. Inside, one man tried to save a woman no one dared to touch. A queen poisoned in her own court, and a human caught in a game he never asked to play. But he wasn't walking away. Not now. Not when someone finally looked at him like he mattered. Even if she wore a crown, even if the whole world hated him, he'd protect her, no matter what it cost. Jace held the queen in his arms as her breath slowed. Her skin was cold, her fingers weak. He placed her gently on a soft couch inside the chamber and used his scanner again. The poison was real, spreading fast, but what shocked him most was the signature in the compound. It wasn't alien tech. It was Terran-made, human origin. Jace stared at the screen, confused. He didn't bring any poison, didn't own any weapons. Someone was trying to frame him. And worse, someone inside the palace wanted the queen dead. The door opened suddenly with a hiss. Armed guards rushed in. Their weapons pointed straight at him. "Step away from Her Majesty," one shouted. Jace raised his hands, showing the scanner. "She's been poisoned," he said quickly. "I'm trying to help." One guard checked the queen's pulse and nodded to the others. "Still alive? Barely," he whispered. Another grabbed Jace by the arm and pulled him back roughly. But just as they were about to throw him to the ground, the queen's eyes opened slightly. "Stop," she whispered, her voice faint but firm. The guards froze. She lifted a shaking hand toward Jace. "He stays," she said. The lead guard hesitated, then nodded slowly. Jace was released, but the tension in the room stayed thick like smoke. A royal healer rushed in with glowing tools. They injected a blue serum into the queen's arm and began scanning her vitals. Jace stepped back, watching every move. Outside the chamber, rumors had already begun to spread. "Human assassin poisons queen," they whispered. "He bewitched her with Terran tricks." Some nobles demanded his execution. Others demanded answers. Inside the chamber, the queen rested with her eyes closed, her breathing steady but shallow. Jace sat beside the door, his heart heavy. He didn't know why this was happening, but he knew one thing. Someone wanted the queen gone, and he was the perfect one to blame. The next morning, she finally opened her eyes fully. Jace rushed to her side. "You should rest," he said softly. She gave him a weak smile. "I don't have time for rest," she whispered. "They think you did it." "I know," Jace replied. "But I found something." He showed her the scanner report, highlighting the poison's code. "It's human-made," he said. "Whoever did this wanted to start a war, make it look like humans betrayed you." The queen sat up slowly, her face turning cold again. "Then we find out who," she said. She stood, weak but determined. "Call the council," she ordered the guard, "and summon my sister." That afternoon, the court was full again. The queen appeared before her people, still pale, but standing tall. Jace stood behind her, silent but alert. The nobles watched him like a snake in their garden. Whispers circled like vultures. Then Princess Lariah entered, the queen's younger sister. She wore armor of silver and blue, and her eyes sparkled like ice. She bowed low, but did not smile. "You called for me, sister," she said, voice sweet as honey. "I came the moment I heard." The queen stepped forward, her voice sharp. "I was poisoned last night," she said, "and the toxin was human-made." The court gasped. Jace scanned the room, watching faces, watching reactions. Lariah tilted her head. "And you think this human had nothing to do with it?" she asked with fake concern. The queen didn't blink. "I think someone planted the poison to frame him," she replied. "And I have reason to believe it came from inside this palace." Lariah smiled softly, but something dark hid behind her eyes. She stepped forward and looked directly at Jace. "If he stays at your side," she said slowly, "then he will bring ruin to your throne." Then she turned and walked out of the hall, leaving a trail of silence behind her. Jace leaned in and whispered, "She knows something." The queen nodded slowly. "She knows too much," she said. "And now she knows you won't back down." Above them, the banners of peace still flew. But war was whispering in the shadows, and one human was now standing at the heart of it. The sun on the alien capital rose red and heavy like it carried a warning in the sky. Jace stood on a high balcony looking over the glowing towers of the Queen City. The breeze was sharp but clean, brushing against his face as he tried to think. Inside, the queen was awake, resting on her throne, but her mind was not still. She had survived poison, but now every shadow looked like danger. Every smile looked like a lie. Jace stepped back inside the chamber. He found her standing beside a wall filled with holographic stars. Each star was a name of someone she had lost. He watched her quietly, not wanting to break the silence, but she noticed him anyway. "You still don't run even when everyone tells you to," she said. Without turning, he walked closer, his voice calm. "If I ran, I'd regret it for the rest of my life." She looked at him, then really looked at him. There was something in her eyes. Softer now, but still guarded. "Do humans always talk like that?" she asked. "Or is it just you?" Jace gave a small laugh. "Only the ones who've been through something painful." The queen walked to a table and picked up a small silver box. She opened it slowly, revealing a simple stone inside. It was dull gray and ordinary, but her fingers trembled when she held it. "My mother gave this to me the day she died," she said. "She told me this stone was worthless, but it reminded her of what really matters, not power, not control. Just truth." She placed the stone in Jace's hand. He didn't understand why, but he held it carefully like it was something alive. He looked at her and asked, "Why did you really bring me here that day?" The queen took a long breath. At first it was curiosity, then it was defiance, but now I don't know anymore. Jace nodded slowly. I came here to fix broken machines. But maybe I was supposed to fix something else. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, not romance, not yet. But something warmer than fear and stronger than politics. A sudden knock broke the moment. A royal guard entered quickly and bowed. "Your Majesty, your sister has left the palace without permission. She took a ship and 6 of her loyal fighters. We believe she's gone to the old outpost near the Frost Mountains." The queen's face turned stone again. "That outpost holds the royal archives. She's after the sealed records." Jay stepped forward. "Can I go with you?" She hesitated. "It will be dangerous." "I've walked into danger before," he said, "but never for something that matters this much." That evening, they flew in a dark royal cruiser across frozen skies. The Frost Mountains rose like jagged teeth beneath them. The queen sat beside Jace, both silent, both alert. She had changed into dark armor and tied her silver hair back, even dressed for war. There was something human in her eyes now. When they landed, the outpost looked empty, but Jace knew better. He scanned the area with a quiet device and picked up heat signals inside. They entered slowly side by side. The halls were dusty and cold. Old banners from past wars still hung torn on the walls. Suddenly voices echoed from ahead. Lariah and her guards were breaking into a sealed vault. The queen stepped out boldly enough. "Sister, whatever you want from there, it ends now." Lariah turned, her eyes flashing with hate. "You brought the human." How predictable. Jace looked at the vault. "What's in there?" Lariah smiled. "The truth," she said. "The truth that your queen is not the rightful ruler, that she was adopted, hidden, and raised to lie." The queen stood frozen. Jace turned to her slowly. "Is it true?" She didn't answer, not with words, just a single tear rolling down her cheek. Lariah laughed. "See, even he doubts you now." But Jace didn't move away. He reached for the queen's hand and said softly, "I don't care what's written in a vault. You chose to rule and you chose to protect. That's what makes her queen." Lariah growled and ordered her guards forward, but the queen's eyes lit with fury and power. And this time she was not just fighting for her throne. She was fighting for something real for him. Snow crunched under Jace's boots as he stood beside the queen in the frozen courtyard of the ancient outpost. The sky above was dark and heavy, like it was holding its breath. Inside the vault, her sister Lariah's guards had drawn their weapons. Jace had no sword, no armor, no plan, just his body and a promise to protect her. The queen stepped forward, her eyes glowing with royal command. "You dare raise arms against your queen," she said. Lariah sneered back. "You are no queen. You are a shadow sitting on a stolen throne." She raised her hand and her guards charged forward. Jace grabbed a loose piece of metal from the wall and swung it hard. The first guard dropped, another came fast, but Jace ducked low and kicked his leg. The queen activated a defense shield and took down 2 more with energy blasts, but they were outnumbered and surrounded. Jace stood in front of her, body trembling from the cold and pain. Then a blade slashed across his shoulder and he staggered back. Blood dripped onto the ice, but he didn't fall. He growled through his teeth and slammed the metal bar into another attacker behind him. The queen screamed his name, but he couldn't turn. More guards rushed. More pain, more cold, but still Jace stood like a wall, refusing to let them touch her. "You're bleeding," she whispered. "You'll die if you don't stop." "Then let me die on my feet," Jace replied, fighting for something that matters. The queen stared at him, eyes wide, not with fear, but with something deeper. She turned and shouted into the air, "Override command code Sharath." The ground shook. Hidden turrets activated from the walls and fired energy beams that scattered the last of the rebels. Screams echoed through the ice halls. Lariah's eyes widened as her army fell. She turned and ran, disappearing into the blizzard. "Cowards do not win." "Thrones," the queen said quietly. "Only those who bleed for them." Jace dropped to his knees, breath ragged. His body was shaking too much to move. The queen ran to him and caught him in her arms. He smiled weakly. told you I wasn't leaving you, stupid brave human, she whispered. She tore off a piece of her royal cloak and pressed it against his wound. You could have died. You nearly did, but I didn't, he whispered back, because you were beside me. They flew back to the palace that night. In silence, Jace was unconscious most of the time, but he felt her hand never leave his. In the royal med chamber, he woke with bandages across his chest and a strange warmth in his hand. The queen was their head, resting on the bed's edge. Eyes tired, he moved slightly, and she woke. You're alive, she said. He nodded slowly, only because of you. The palace was quiet, but not at peace. Word had spread, the queen had been attacked. The human had saved her again. Some said it was a sign of weakness, others called it a beginning of something new. The queen stood in front of the great court once more. She wore no crown, this time no jewels, no cape. Only a dark dress and eyes that had seen too much. I name Jace of Earth as my protector of the throne, she said. He is no longer guest nor outsider. He is my chosen shield and chosen truth. Whispers turned to shouts. Some nobles protested, others bowed their heads in silent respect. And when Jace walked beside her into the court, the people stared not with hate, but with something new, wonder. He wasn't royalty. He wasn't trained for war, but he had fought when others fled. He had bled for their queen, and she had chosen him. Jace opened his eyes to the soft glow of alien sunlight streaming through crystal windows, the scent of strange flowers filled the room, and the sheets beneath him were smoother than anything he had ever touched, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the gentle weight of a hand resting in his. He turned his head and saw her sitting beside him. The queen, her armor was gone, her crown was gone. She looked like a woman now. Not a ruler, not a weapon. Just someone who had waited through the night. You came back, he said, his voice dry and cracked. I never left, she replied softly. He tried to sit up and winced as pain shot through his chest. She moved quickly to support him, but her touch was careful, tender. He looked at her and for the first time saw the fear in her eyes. Not fear of war or betrayal, but fear of losing something real. I thought I had lost you, she said, and I realized I had never feared that before. Not with armies, not with enemies, but with you. Jace smiled. Then you're not as heartless as they say. She looked away. I never had a reason to care before, but now I do, and it terrifies me. Outside the palace, crowds had gathered. The news had spread far and wide. The queen had nearly died. A human had saved her again. Now he was her protector, and maybe something more. In the council hall, the nobles argued. Some demanded his removal. Others whispered of revolution, but the queen ignored them all. She only listened to the voice in her heart. A voice that had stayed silent for too long. Later that evening, she walked with Jace through the palace gardens. Her guards followed at a distance, but she waved them off. She wanted this walk to be private. These flowers, she said, pointing to glowing blue vines, only bloom for those who bleed for the crown. Then they're blooming for the wrong person. Jace said, you're the one holding everything together. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep choosing me? Because no one else sees you like I do, he replied. They see the queen, I see the woman who never had a choice. The girl forced to wear a crown before she was ready. The warrior who stands alone every day. Her throat tightened. She wanted to speak, but no words came. So Jace stepped closer and took her hand. And for once, she didn't pull away. You don't have to be strong with me, he whispered. You can just be you. She nodded slowly and looked up at the twin moons. Do you regret choosing me? Never, he said. Not even for a second. She turned back to him, and her voice trembled. Then be ready, because tomorrow I will name you something this world has never seen. What's that? My consort, my partner, the one who stands not behind me, but beside me. Jace blinked. Are you sure you'll make enemies? You'll lose power? Then let them come, she said. I would rather rule with truth and heart than with lies and fear. The next day the palace was silent. Every noble, every soldier, every visitor stood in the great hall. The queen stood on the highest step. With Jace at her side, she raised her voice. You may question my choices. You may doubt my heart, but this man saved my life, not once, but twice. He stood when others ran, he bled when others hid. He asked for nothing but gave everything. I name him my consort. And if anyone wishes to challenge that, let them step forward now. No one moved, no one spoke, even her enemies felt the power in her words. Then slowly, one by one, they knelt. Jace looked at her, stunned, and she whispered, "You gave me something no crown ever could hope." The galaxy did not sleep the night the Aurelian Queen declared a human as her consort from the icy moons to the burning deserts of the outer rings. The news spread like wildfire. Some called it madness, others called it history, but inside the palace, all Jace felt was silence. He stood at the window in royal robes that didn't feel like his. He still wore the scar on his shoulder and the weight of everything he had seen. He wasn't a king, he wasn't born for thrones. But when he looked down at the garden below and saw her waiting, he knew exactly why he stayed. The queen wore no crown today. She had sent it back to the vault. She said she didn't need a symbol anymore. She needed someone beside her, and that someone was him. They walked side by side through the palace gates where thousands waited, aliens of every kind. Some bowed, some turned away, but all watched. Jace didn't wave, didn't speak. He just held her hand. In the grand chamber, the High Council gathered. All the old voices that had ruled behind curtains, they looked at the queen with sharp eyes and sharper words. "Your Majesty, this alliance with a human may break our treaties with the other empires. You risk the unity of your bloodlines. You weaken the royal image." The queen listened, then she raised her head and answered, "A throne built on fear will always fall. But a throne shared with trust will rise stronger than steel." Jace stood silent as she defended him, not with violence, not with power, but with truth. "He never asked to stand here," she said, "but he stood when no one else did. He never wanted my crown, only my trust, and that is why he is worthy." Still, some voices rose in anger. Old traditions die hard, but new ones are born in fire. That fire came 2 days later, when ships from a rival system arrived, unannounced, armed, ready to challenge her rule. They called her a traitor, said a human could never share power. They demanded her abdication. The queen walked to the central platform alone. Her guards begged her to stay back, but she looked at Jace once and said, "I will not hide behind walls." Not anymore. He followed her without a word. The enemy commander stood with a smug grin. "You lost yourself to a Terran now. We'll take your throne and restore honor." Jace stepped forward and looked the alien in the eyes. "You came here expecting fear, but you'll leave with truth." She never lost anything. She found someone who would never use her, never betray her, never fear her. The commander laughed. "And what makes you think that's enough to stop a fleet?" Jace smiled. "Because she's not alone anymore." Behind them, the palace shields rose. The people filled the skies with support, and dozens of allied worlds sent messages of loyalty. The commander paused. His ships turned back without a single shot, because even enemies could see something stronger than power ruled here now. Later that night, the queen stood in her private garden. Stars filled the sky above them like glowing rivers. She looked at Jace and whispered, "Do you miss Earth? Do you miss the simple life you had?" He thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No, because I never had this. Not the throne, not the power, just someone who sees me and lets me see her back." She stepped closer, and for the first time in her life, she laid her head on someone's shoulder. The throne still stood behind them, cold, silent, but no longer empty, because for the first time, the crown didn't beat alone. It beat in rhythm with another heart. And the galaxy would never forget the day a queen chose love over legacy. And a human chose a crown not for power, but for the woman who carried it.